The airlock explodes in a blinding flash of light and heat, shattering the silence of the derelict space station. Metal groans and twists as the force rips through the corridors, sending debris spiraling into the void. Kael Voss, his armor scorched and cracked, stumbles through the wreckage, his breath ragged inside his helmet. The station shudders, its orbit decaying around the dying star below, casting an eerie red glow across the chaos. A voice crackles through his comms, distorted and urgent. "The cosmos will fall unless you stand alone." Kael pauses, his gloved hand gripping a jagged piece of the station's hull. His voice is low, steady, and laced with defiance. "I've always stood alone." With a final glance at the crumbling station, he leaps into the void, the star's light reflecting off his battered armor as he vanishes into the endless expanse, the weight of the galaxy's fate resting on his shoulders. As Kael's boots hit the cracked, crimson soil of Zorath, the air is thick with the scent of ozone and decay. The lawless planet is a haven for smugglers, mercenaries, and those who thrive in the shadows of the galaxy. But Kael isn't here for the chaos, he's here to survive. The moment his feet touch the ground, the silence is shattered by the whine of energy weapons charging. From the jagged cliffs and crumbling ruins, a squad of cybernetically enhanced bounty hunters emerges, their glowing optics locked on him. They move with mechanical precision, their bodies a grotesque fusion of flesh and steel, sent by the Galactic Dominion to ensure Kael doesn't live to see another sunrise. Kael doesn't wait for them to strike. He dives behind a rusted cargo crate, the air around him erupting in a storm of plasma fire. His reflexes are razor-sharp, honed by years of combat, and he returns fire with calculated precision. One by one, the hunters fall, their mechanical enhancements sparking and smoking as they collapse. But the fight is far from over. Amid the chaos, Kael spots a glint of metal on the ground, a data chip dropped by one of the fallen hunters. He snatches it up, his HUD instantly decrypting its contents, the coordinates to a hidden weapon, one capable of annihilating entire star systems, flash across his visor. Before he can process the implications, a dying hunter grabs his ankle, his voice a gurgling rasp. "You're too late, the Dominion already knows." Kael looks down at the man, his expression unreadable behind his helmet. "Let them come," he growls, his voice cold and unyielding. With a final, decisive shot, he silences the hunter and turns his attention to the horizon. A stolen starship, its engine still warm, sits abandoned nearby. Kael doesn't hesitate. He boards the vessel, inputting the coordinates into the nav system. The engines roar to life, and the ship ascends into Zorath's toxic atmosphere, leaving the planet's chaos behind. But as the stars blur into streaks of light, Kael can't shake the feeling that he's walking into something far more dangerous than he realizes. The coordinates lead him to a derelict warship, its hull scarred by countless battles, floating ominously in the void. What awaits him there is more than just a weapon. It's a trap, one that will test his limits and force him to confront the true cost of standing alone against the cosmos. As the stolen starship exits hyperspace, Kael's eyes narrow at the sight before him. The coordinates lead to a derelict warship, its massive frame looming like a ghost in the void. But it's not alone. Surrounding it is a fleet of Dominion ships, their sleek, menacing forms bristling with weapons. Kael's grip tightens on the controls. This isn't just a mission anymore, it's a trap. He maneuvers the ship through the debris field, avoiding detection as he docks with the derelict vessel. The airlock hisses open, revealing a dimly lit interior scarred by years of neglect. Kael steps inside, his boots echoing against the metal floor. The silence is unnerving, broken only by the faint hum of failing systems. As he moves deeper into the ship, a voice cuts through the darkness. "Welcome, Kael Voss." The words are cold, mechanical, and devoid of emotion. Kael's hand instinctively goes to his weapon as a holographic figure materializes before him. It's an artificial intelligence, its form flickering like a dying star. "I am Aegis," it says, "and you are not the first to come seeking the weapon." Kael's eyes narrow. What weapon? Aegis's holographic form shifts, revealing a massive chamber deep within the ship. Inside lies a towering construct, pulsing with an eerie, otherworldly light. This, Aegis explains, is the Omega Core, a sentient superweapon designed to annihilate the Dominion, but its power comes at a cost. To activate it is to unleash destruction on a scale the galaxy has never seen. Billions will perish. Kael's jaw tightens. "And you're telling me this why? Because you cannot win this war alone," Aegis replies, its voice calm but firm. "The Dominion is too vast, too powerful. Even with this weapon, you are but one man against an empire." Kael's response is immediate, his voice low and resolute. "I don't need to win, I just need to survive long enough to make them regret it." Before Aegis can respond, the ship shudders violently. Alarms blare as the Dominion fleet begins its assault. Kael sprints toward the Omega Core, his mind racing. He knows what he has to do, but the weight of the decision presses down on him like a collapsing star. As he reaches the core, the Dominion breaches the ship. Their soldiers pour in, their weapons trained on him. Kael doesn't hesitate. He activates the Omega Core, its light intensifying until it's blinding. The last thing he hears is Aegis's voice, calm and final. "You have chosen chaos." The explosion is cataclysmic, a wave of energy that engulfs the Dominion fleet and tears through the derelict warship. Kael is thrown into the void, his body battered and broken. As he drifts amidst the wreckage, the stars above him blur into streaks of light. The trap has been sprung, but Kael's war is far from over. The galaxy will remember this day not as the fall of a mercenary, but as the spark that ignited a rebellion. And somewhere in the cold expanse of space, Kael Voss clings to life, his resolve unshaken. The Dominion may have unleashed their fury, but they've also awakened something far more dangerous, a man with nothing left to lose. As the debris from the Omega Core's explosion settles, Kael drifts in the cold void of space, his body battered but his spirit unbroken. Just as the darkness threatens to consume him, a faint light appears in the distance. A ship, sleek and unmarked, emerges from the shadows, its engines humming softly as it closes in. Kael's vision blurs, but he feels the faint pull of a tractor beam drawing him in. When he awakens, he finds himself in a dimly lit med bay, surrounded by unfamiliar faces. The air is thick with tension, and the hum of machinery fills the room. A woman steps forward, her presence commanding yet calm. Her name is Lyra, and she is the leader of a rebel faction, a group of outcasts and freedom fighters who have been watching Kael's every move. "You're the one who sent the transmission," Kael says, his voice rough but steady. Lyra nods, her expression unreadable. The Dominion's reach is vast, but their ambition is even greater. They've been experimenting with the Omega Core's technology, not just to destroy, but to control. They plan to enslave the galaxy, bending entire star systems to their will. And you, Kael Voss, are the only one who's come close to stopping them. Kael's eyes narrow. "What do you want from me?" "Your help," Lyra replies simply. "We've been fighting this war in the shadows, but we can't win alone. With your skills and our resources, we might stand a chance." Kael hesitates, weighing the risks. He's always worked alone, trusting no one but himself, but the stakes are higher now, and the enemy is more dangerous than he ever imagined. Reluctantly, he agrees. The rebels' plan is bold: infiltrate a Dominion stronghold on the planet Xyrus, a heavily fortified world at the heart of their empire. The mission is to retrieve critical data that could expose the Dominion's plans and rally the galaxy against them. Kael and Lyra lead the operation, their team moving like shadows through the labyrinthine corridors of the stronghold. But as they reach the data vault, something feels off. The security is too light, the path too clear. Kael's instincts scream at him, but before he can act, the trap is sprung. Dominion soldiers flood the room, their weapons trained on the rebels. Lyra steps forward, her hands raised in surrender. "It's over," she says, her voice cold and detached. Kael's eyes widen in disbelief. "What are you doing?" Lyra doesn't meet his gaze. "I made a deal, my people's safety in exchange for you." The words hit Kael like a plasma bolt to the chest. Betrayal. He should have seen it coming, but the sting is no less sharp. The Dominion soldiers move in, their weapons crackling with energy as they restrain him. As they drag him away, Kael locks eyes with Lyra, his voice a low growl. "You'll regret this." Lyra's expression is unreadable, but there's a flicker of something: remorse, perhaps, or resignation. "I already do," she replies, her voice barely above a whisper. Kael is thrown into a high-security prison, his every move monitored by Dominion guards. The walls are thick, the doors reinforced, but Kael's resolve is unshakable. He may be trapped, but he's far from defeated. As he sits in the darkness, his mind races. The Dominion underestimated him once, and it cost them dearly. They'll do so again, and when they do, Kael will be ready. The stage is set for his escape, and the galaxy will soon learn that no prison can hold the unstoppable human mercenary. The Dominion thought they had won, but they've only awakened a storm, and storms, as they'll soon discover, are impossible to control. As the heavy doors of the Dominion prison groan under the strain of Kael's relentless assault, the air fills with the acrid smell of scorched metal and the sharp crackle of failing energy fields. Kael moves with the precision of a predator, his every strike calculated, his every step deliberate. The guards, once confident in their control, now scramble in chaos, their weapons useless against the unstoppable force that is Kael Voss. With a final, bone-rattling explosion, the prison's defenses crumble, and Kael emerges into the cold, open air of the Dominion stronghold. The alarms blare, their shrill cries echoing across the barren landscape, but Kael doesn't flinch. His eyes are fixed on the horizon, where a Dominion warship looms like a shadow against the stars. The ship's crew barely has time to react before Kael is upon them. He moves through the corridors like a ghost, his stolen Dominion tech humming with lethal energy. One by one, the crew falls, their cries silenced by the merciless efficiency of Kael's assault. Within moments, the ship is his, its systems bending to his will as he takes control of the helm. From the ship's command center, Kael activates the galaxy-wide broadcast system. His voice, steady and resolute, echoes across star systems, reaching the ears of the oppressed and the desperate. This is Kael Voss. He begins, his words cutting through the static like a blade. The Dominion thinks they own the galaxy. They think they can crush us under their boots and silence our voices, but they're wrong. They've underestimated us, and they've underestimated me. I've seen their plans, their weapons, their lies, and I'm here to tell you this: we don't have to live in fear. We don't have to bow to their tyranny. Together, we can fight back. Together, we can take back what's ours. The message spreads like wildfire, igniting hope in the hearts of those who had long since given up. From the slums of Zorath to the mining colonies of Xyrus, whispers of rebellion grow into a roar. The oppressed begin to rise, their defiance fueled by Kael's words. But the Dominion is not idle. They respond with brutal efficiency, deploying their ultimate weapon, a fleet of artificial intelligence-controlled dreadnoughts, each one a fortress of destruction. The dreadnoughts descend upon Kael's stolen warship, their weapons primed to obliterate him and crush the spark of rebellion before it can spread. Kael doesn't falter. He knows the odds are against him, but he's faced impossible odds before. With the stolen Dominion tech at his fingertips, he engages the dreadnoughts in a brutal space battle. The void of space becomes a battlefield, lit by the blinding flashes of plasma fire and the fiery trails of missiles. If the cosmos wants a war, Kael mutters, his hands flying across the controls, "I'll give it one they'll never forget." The battle is fierce, each maneuver a dance of death, each strike a test of skill and resolve. Kael's ship weaves through the chaos, its weapons tearing through the dreadnoughts with surgical precision. One by one, the Dominion's ultimate weapons fall, their hulls rupturing in spectacular explosions that light up the darkness. As the last dreadnought crumbles, Kael's ship emerges from the wreckage, battered but victorious. The galaxy watches in awe, their hope reignited by the sight of a single man standing against an empire. Kael Voss, the unstoppable human mercenary, has become more than a warrior. He's become a symbol, a beacon of defiance in a galaxy consumed by darkness. But the war is far from over. The Dominion's reach is vast, and their resources are limitless. Kael knows this is only the beginning. As he sets a course for the next battlefield, his resolve hardens. The galaxy may be vast, but so is his determination, and in the end, it's not the size of the army that matters, it's the strength of the one who leads it. The stage is set for the next chapter in this galactic struggle, and Kael Voss is ready to face whatever comes next. The Dominion thought they could break him, but they've only unleashed a storm. And storms, as they are about to learn, are impossible to control. As the echoes of Kael's victory against the dreadnoughts fade, the galaxy braces for the Dominion's next move. But Kael's path takes a darker turn as he sets his sights on Lyra, the rebel leader who betrayed him. Her homeworld, a desolate planet scarred by war, becomes the stage for their final confrontation. The air is thick with tension as Kael descends through the atmosphere, his stolen warship cutting through the clouds like a blade. Lyra waits for him in the ruins of her once thriving city, her expression unreadable. The weight of her betrayal hangs heavy between them, but there's no time for words. The Dominion's shadow looms larger than ever, and Lyra reveals the chilling truth: the superweapon has been activated. Its first target, Earth, Kael's fists clench at his sides, his mind racing. Vengeance against Lyra burns in his chest, but the thought of billions of innocent lives on Earth being wiped out forces him to make a choice. Duty wins. With a grim nod, he turns away from Lyra, his focus now on stopping the weapon before it's too late. The journey to the weapon's core is a gauntlet of death. Dominion enforcers, their armor gleaming with the latest tech, stand in his way. Each step forward is a battle, each corridor a war zone. Kael fights with everything he has, his body pushed to its limits, his resolve unshaken. The enforcers are relentless, their attacks precise and brutal, but Kael is a force of nature, his every move calculated, his every strike devastating. Finally, he reaches the core, a massive chamber pulsating with energy. The weapon hums with a malevolent power, its systems counting down to Earth's destruction. Kael knows what he has to do. There's no time for hesitation, no room for doubt. He begins the process of dismantling the weapon, his hands moving with practiced precision. But the Dominion isn't done yet. Their elite enforcers converge on the core, their weapons trained on Kael. The fight is brutal, a clash of wills and strength. Kael takes hit after hit, his body battered, his armor cracked, but he doesn't stop. He can't. The fate of the galaxy rests on his shoulders. As the final enforcer falls, Kael turns back to the weapon. The countdown is almost complete. There's no way to stop it, only to destroy it. With a deep breath, he makes his choice. Sacrificing himself to save billions, he triggers the weapon's self-destruct sequence. The chamber begins to collapse around him, the energy building to a cataclysmic level. Kael stands amidst the chaos, his voice steady as he speaks his final words. "I was never unstoppable," he says, his tone calm, almost reflective, "but I was always enough." The explosion is blinding, a burst of light and energy that rips through the weapon's core and engulfs the surrounding space. The Dominion fleet, caught in the blast, is obliterated. Earth is saved, but at a cost. As the dust settles, the galaxy holds its breath. Kael Voss, the unstoppable human mercenary, is gone. Or is he? Whispers of his survival begin to spread, tales of a shadowy figure seen in the wreckage. The Dominion may have won the battle, but the war is far from over. And somewhere, in the ruins of the superweapon's core, a faint signal pulses, a reminder that even in the darkest moments, hope endures. The cosmos thought it could break Kael Voss, but the storm he unleashed is only beginning. As the galaxy begins to rebuild, the echoes of Kael Voss's sacrifice ripple through the stars. Planets once under the Dominion's iron grip now breathe freely, their skies no longer darkened by the shadow of tyranny. Celebrations erupt across the cosmos, but beneath the surface of this newfound freedom, a question lingers: what became of the man who gave everything to save them? Whispers spread like wildfire, tales of a shadowy figure seen amidst the wreckage of the superweapon's core. Some claim it's a ghost, a remnant of Kael's indomitable spirit. Others believe he survived, his will to fight stronger than the blast that was meant to end him. The truth remains shrouded in mystery, but one thing is certain: the legend of Kael Voss lives on. In the ruins of the superweapon, a faint signal pulses, a quiet but persistent reminder of the man who stood alone against the cosmos. His armor, cracked and scorched, lies abandoned, but the resolve that once filled it remains unbroken. A shadowy figure moves through the debris, his presence a silent promise to those who still dare to hope. The final words of Kael Voss echo through the void, a haunting reminder of the war that still looms. "The cosmos thought it could break me," he had said, his voice steady even in the face of annihilation. "But the war's not over yet, and so the galaxy waits, its people caught between celebration and uncertainty." The Dominion may have been dealt a crippling blow, but their remnants still lurk in the shadows, plotting their next move. The fight for freedom is far from finished, and the cosmos knows that if Kael Voss truly survived, he will return stronger, fiercer, and more determined than ever. The audiobook closes with a promise, a whisper of what's to come. Kael's story is far from over, and the next chapter in his saga promises to be even more explosive. For now, the galaxy celebrates, but the storm is far from over. The cosmos thought it could break one man, but in doing so, it unleashed a force it could never contain. If you enjoyed this journey through the stars, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss the next chapter in Kael Voss's epic saga. Until then, keep looking to the stars. You never know where the unstoppable human mercenary might appear next.